I stood in the parking lot of the Riverside Country Club, watching the valets rush between Mercedes and BMWs. Through the tall windows, I could see the chandeliers, the white tablecloths, the guests in their evening gowns and tuxedos. Somewhere in there, my daughter was getting married. I wasn't invited. The December air was cold, and my breath made small clouds in front of me. I'd driven 4 hours from Pittsburgh in my 15-year-old Chevy, the one with the patched seat and the rattle in the engine that I never had money to fix. I'd put on my only suit, the same one I'd worn to job interviews and parent-teacher conferences and Emma's high school graduation. It was pressed. The shoes were polished. I'd gotten a haircut yesterday at the barber college, where they charge $8. I didn't plan to go inside. I just needed to see the building, to know she was in there. To say goodbye, I guess. My phone buzzed. Another message from my buddy Marcus, the guy I'd worked with at the steel mill before it closed. "You there yet? Don't do anything stupid." I texted back. "I'm fine. Just leaving." But I didn't move. I couldn't yet. 24 years. That's how long it had been since her mother died. Emma was 4 years old, and I was 38, and suddenly I was alone with a little girl who cried for her mommy every night. Sarah had been the breadwinner, the one with the steady job at the hospital. I'd been working construction, seasonal work, that dried up every winter. When she died, the life insurance barely covered the funeral. I remember that first week, sitting on Emma's bed at 2 in the morning, rocking her while she sobbed. I didn't know how to braid her hair. I didn't know which foods she liked, which cartoons she watched, what time she went to bed. Sarah had handled all of that. I was the dad who came home tired and dirty, kissed his daughter on the head, and fell asleep on the couch. But I learned. God, I learned. I watched YouTube videos on how to do ponytails. I learned to cook something besides hamburgers and hot dogs. I read every parenting book the library had. I took a night job at the warehouse so I could be home after school. I helped with homework at the kitchen table, even when I didn't understand the math. I sewed patches on her Girl Scout uniform with stitches so bad she laughed at me. I showed up to every school play, every softball game, every parent-teacher conference, even if I had to leave work early. Money was always tight. I wore the same 5 shirts in rotation. I cut my own hair for years, until I gave up and just started buzzing it short with clippers. Emma wore a lot of hand-me-downs from church donations, and I could see in her eyes sometimes that she noticed what the other girls wore. But I made sure she had what she needed. School supplies, field trip money, a used clarinet when she wanted to join the band. When she was in 7th grade, she came home crying because some kids had made fun of our apartment. It was small, 2 bedrooms in a complex near the interstate where the neighbors were loud and the pool was always broken. I'd been saving for a house, but that month the transmission on my car died, and there went the down payment fund. I sat with her that night and told her something my own father had told me. People who judge you by what you have instead of who you are aren't worth knowing. She nodded, but I could see the shame in her eyes. Not shame of me, exactly. Shame of being poor. And I hated that she felt that way. I hated that I couldn't give her more. But she was a good kid, smart. By high school, she was getting straight A's. She tutored other students. She worked part-time at the ice cream shop and saved her money. When it came time for college, she got a partial scholarship to a state school, and I picked up extra shifts to cover the rest. I worked 60, 70 hours a week. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches so she could have a meal plan. I drove my car until it had 200,000 miles because I couldn't afford a new one and tuition at the same time. I never told her about the credit cards I maxed out to cover her textbooks, or the time I went to the emergency room with chest pains and left without being seen because I couldn't afford the bill, or the second job I took cleaning offices at 3 in the morning because the warehouse wasn't enough anymore. She called me every Sunday from school. We'd talk about her classes, her roommate, her plans. She wanted to study business, maybe work in marketing or consulting. I told her I was proud of her, and I was. She was going to have a better life than I did. That was the whole point. When she graduated, I sat in those bleachers with tears running down my face. I'd done it. I'd gotten her through. She had a degree, interviews lined up, a whole future ahead of her. She hugged me after the ceremony and said, "I couldn't have done this without you, Dad." She got a job in Philadelphia, good pay, corporate office, the works. She moved into an apartment with some friends. I visited once, brought her some of her old things from storage. Her place was nice, modern, in a good neighborhood. She was making more in her first year than I'd ever made in my life. That's when she met Tyler. She mentioned him on one of our calls. "There's this guy at work, Dad. He's really nice. I think you'd like him." I asked the usual dad questions. What does he do? Where's he from? Is he good to you? She laughed and said yes, he was good to her. He was a senior analyst, came from Connecticut, went to a private college I'd never heard of. His parents owned some kind of investment firm. They started dating. She sounded happy when she talked about him, so I was happy. I didn't meet him for months, though. She said they were busy. Schedules didn't line up. Maybe next time. But next time came and went. Then one Sunday, she called and said she wanted me to meet him. They'd drive up to Pittsburgh, take me to dinner. I was nervous. I cleaned the apartment for 3 days. I bought a new shirt. I wanted to make a good impression. Tyler was polite. He shook my hand, called me sir, asked about my work. I told him I was between jobs at the moment, which was true. The warehouse had let me go after I'd missed too many shifts. My back was giving out, and I couldn't lift the heavy boxes anymore. I was doing gig work, driving for a delivery service, whatever I could find. We ate at an Olive Garden. Tyler talked about his work, the deals he was closing, the clients he was managing. Emma looked at him like he'd hung the moon. I was happy for her. He seemed like a good guy, even if he did check his phone a lot during dinner. After that, things changed. Emma's calls got shorter, less frequent. Once a month, then every other month. She was busy, she said. Work was demanding. Tyler's family had a place in the Hamptons where they spent weekends. There were corporate retreats, conferences, networking events. I understood. She was building a life. Then last Christmas, she didn't come home. She said Tyler's family had invited her to Aspen. It was a big deal, meeting his extended family. She'd come visit in January, she promised. But January came and she canceled. Work emergency. I didn't complain. I just missed her. In March, she called with big news. Tyler had proposed. They were engaged. I told her congratulations, said all the things a father should say. My voice cracked a little, and she asked if I was okay. I said yes, just emotional. Happy tears. Which was true, mostly. She said they were planning a fall wedding. Something elegant. Tyler's mom was helping organize it. It would be at some country club near Philadelphia. I asked if she needed help with costs, knowing I had maybe $2,000 saved up. She laughed, not unkindly, and said no, Tyler's parents were covering it. It's going to be big, Dad, like 200 people. Tyler's parents know everyone, senators, CEOs, you know. It's a little overwhelming, honestly. I said that sounded wonderful. I said I couldn't wait to walk her down the aisle. There was a pause. A long one. About that, Dad. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. She explained it carefully, like she'd rehearsed. Tyler's family was very traditional, very particular about appearances. The wedding was going to be covered by some society magazine. There would be photographers everywhere. It was important that everything looked perfect, polished, cohesive. Tyler's mom has been really specific about the aesthetic. The colors, the flowers, even what people wear. She's kind of a perfectionist. I still didn't understand where this was going. Dad, I don't know how to say this, but Tyler's parents think it would be better if we kept the wedding party small. Just immediate family in the formal pictures. And they've already got both sides balanced out with who's in the photos, and she trailed off. Are you saying you don't want me to walk you down the aisle? No, Dad. It's not like that. It's just, Tyler's mom suggested that we do the ceremony as just us, and Tyler's dad can be the one to officiate. He's a minister, and it'll be more intimate that way. And, Emma, are you telling me I'm not invited to your wedding? Silence. You're invited to the reception, Dad. Of course you are. It's just the ceremony that's going to be really small and private. Just the wedding party and Tyler's immediate family. His parents are very involved in the planning, and they've been so generous, and I can't really push back on them about this. I sat down. My legs just gave out. You're not inviting me to watch you get married. Dad, please don't make this harder than it already is. Does he know, Tyler? Does he know you're doing this? Another pause. He thinks it's probably for the best. His parents are very particular about their social circle, and they have certain expectations about what? Say it, Emma. Dad, say it. Her voice got small. They're concerned about how it would look. Having you there, in the pictures, you don't really fit the image they're trying to project. There it was. The truth under all the careful words. I wasn't good enough. I was an embarrassment. A man in a cheap suit with calloused hands and a blue-collar job history didn't belong in their world. I see. Dad, I'm sorry. I really am. But this is my future we're talking about. Tyler's family is going to be my family now. I can't start off on the wrong foot with them. After the wedding, things will calm down, and we can all get together and... No. What? I said no, Emma. If I'm not good enough to watch you get married, then I'm not good enough to show up afterward like some charity case. You've made your choice. Dad, please don't be like this. I raised you by myself for 20 years. I worked myself half to death so you could have a better life. I never asked you for anything except to be proud of where you came from. And you're ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed. Yes, you are. You're ashamed that I'm poor. You're ashamed that I didn't go to college. You're ashamed that I work with my hands instead of sitting in an office. You're ashamed that I'm not like Tyler's father with his country club membership and his investment portfolio. That's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. None of this is fair. But you know what? You don't get to rewrite history, Emma. You don't get to erase me just because I don't match the curtains at your fancy wedding. I hung up. My hands were shaking. She called back. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, crying, saying we should talk when we'd both calmed down. I deleted it. Marcus came over that night. He brought a six-pack and didn't say much, just sat with me while I stared at the wall. Finally, around midnight, he said, "You gonna let her do this? What choice do I have? You could show up anyway. Make a scene. Tell everyone there what she's doing. And prove to Tyler's family that I'm exactly what they think I am? No. I'm not going to embarrass her like that. She's embarrassing you. She's 26 years old. She's making her own decisions. Bad ones, but her own." Marcus finished his beer. "What are you going to do then?" I thought about that for a long time. I don't know yet. The months passed. Emma sent texts occasionally. Awkward ones. "How are you? Hope you're doing okay." I kept my responses short. "Fine. Good." I didn't ask about the wedding. She didn't offer information. 2 weeks before the wedding, I went to my storage unit. I'd been paying $30 a month for years to keep boxes of old paperwork, photo albums, things I couldn't fit in the apartment. I dug through it all until I found what I was looking for. Every receipt, every bill, every tuition payment, every school supply list, every doctor's visit copay, every after-school activity fee, 24 years of raising a child, documented in faded papers and bank statements. I also found the photos. Emma, as a little girl, gap-toothed and grinning in her Halloween costume that I'd made from a cardboard box and aluminum foil. Emma at her middle school science fair, standing in front of her project on volcanoes, first place ribbon pinned to her shirt. Emma on her high school graduation day, cap and gown, diploma in hand, hugging me so tight. Emma and me at her college move-in day, both of us sweating in the August heat, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken. Emma in every phase of her life, and me there beside her, always there. I made copies of everything. The receipts went into a manila envelope. The photos I kept. I also wrote her a letter. It took me 3 days and a dozen drafts. I wasn't good with words, never had been, but I tried. I didn't mail it. I wanted to give it to her in person. That's why I was here, standing in the parking lot of the Riverside Country Club, watching people arrive for my daughter's wedding reception. I'd driven 4 hours to hand her an envelope and say goodbye. I saw Marcus's car pull up. He'd insisted on coming with me, said I shouldn't be alone. He parked next to me and got out, looked at the country club, whistled low. Fancy? Yeah. You sure about this? I looked down at the envelope in my hands. It was thick, heavy with paper. I'm sure. Want me to come with you? No. I need to do this alone. I walked to the entrance. A valet approached, saw my car, hesitated. I handed him the keys anyway. Inside, the lobby was all marble and gold trim. A woman in a black dress sat at a table with a guest book and place cards. Name, please? I'm not on the list. I'm the bride's father. Her smile faltered. Oh, let me check with the wedding coordinator. Don't bother. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need to give my daughter something. 5 minutes? Then I'm gone. She looked uncertain but nodded. The reception is through those doors. They just finished dinner, about to start toasts. I walked through. The ballroom was massive, decorated in white and gold and soft pink. Round tables with centerpieces that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A band setting up in the corner. And there, at the head table, Emma and Tyler. She saw me immediately. Her face went pale. Tyler followed her gaze, frowned. His mother, sitting next to them, looked at me like I was a rat that had wandered in from the kitchen. I walked across that ballroom. Every step felt like a mile. People were staring. Conversations stopped. Emma stood up, started toward me. Dad, what are you doing here? She looked beautiful. Her dress was something out of a magazine, her hair perfect, her makeup flawless. She looked like a stranger. I came to give you this. I held out the envelope. She took it automatically. What is it? Everything you need to know. Tyler appeared at her side. Up close, he looked worried, maybe a little angry. Sir, I don't think this is the appropriate time. I'm leaving. I just needed her to have this. I looked at Emma. I love you. I always will. But I can't watch you pretend I don't exist. So I'm saying goodbye. Dad, wait. But I was already walking away. Back through that ballroom, past all those staring faces, back through the lobby, into the cold December air where Marcus was waiting. Done? Done. We got in his car and drove away. I didn't look back. Emma called 12 times before I turned my phone off. She left voicemails I didn't listen to. Marcus dropped me at my apartment around midnight. I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about how you can spend 24 years building a life with someone and still end up alone. The next morning, my phone had 37 missed calls. Emma, mostly, but also numbers I didn't recognize. I finally listened to one of her voicemails. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Dad, please call me back. I opened the envelope. I didn't know you'd kept all of it. I didn't know about the second job, or the credit cards, or the emergency room. I didn't know you went without, so I could have everything. I'm so sorry. Please call me back. I didn't. Not that day. The envelope had everything. Every tuition bill with my name on the check. Every receipt for school clothes, school lunches, field trips, the hospital bills I'd paid off over years. The credit card statements showing purchases for textbooks, computers, college application fees. Paycheck stubs showing the hours I'd worked. 3 jobs at once, sometimes. Night shifts, weekend shifts, every holiday. The letter I'd written was simple. Emma, I don't expect you to pay me back. I didn't do any of this for money. I did it because I'm your father, and fathers take care of their children. But I need you to understand that love isn't free. It costs something, and the cost of raising you was everything I had. My time, my health, my savings. My body is broken from years of hard labor. My credit is ruined from debts I took on for you. I have nothing left to give. I don't fit into your new life. I understand that. But I need you to know that the man who doesn't fit paid for every opportunity that got you there. You told me I don't match the image Tyler's family wants to project. You're right. I don't. I'm a man with rough hands and a tired back who worked himself into the ground for his daughter. That's the image I project. That's who I am. I'm proud of you, Emma. I always will be. But I can't stand beside you if you're ashamed to have me there. So I'm letting you go. Live your life. Be happy. But don't pretend you got there alone. Love. Always. Dad. She showed up at my apartment 3 days later. I saw her through the peephole, standing in the hallway in jeans and a sweatshirt, her face red and swollen from crying. I almost didn't open the door, but I did. She fell into my arms, sobbing, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I let them convince me." Emma, Tyler and I had a fight. A big one. I showed him the envelope and asked him if he knew. If he knew what you'd sacrificed for me. He said it didn't matter. That was in the past. We were building a future. And his mother said I was being dramatic. That everyone's parents make sacrifices. That I needed to prioritize my marriage over my father. And I realized they were asking me to choose. And I chose wrong, Dad. I chose so wrong. I held her while she cried. Part of me wanted to say it was okay, that I forgave her, that we could go back to the way things were. But we couldn't. Something had broken, and I didn't know if it could be fixed. "What are you going to do?" I asked quietly. She pulled back, wiped her eyes. "I don't know. Tyler won't apologize. He says you blindsided us, that you embarrassed him in front of his family. His mother is furious. She wants me to cut you off completely, says you're manipulative and toxic." Maybe she's right. "No," Emma's voice was firm. "No, she's not. You're my father. You raised me alone. You gave me everything, and I threw it back in your face because I wanted to impress people who judge you by your bank account instead of your character." She sat down on my old couch, the one with the worn cushions and the stain from where she'd spilled grape juice when she was 7. She looked around the apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. "How do you live like this, Dad? After everything you did for me, you're still in this tiny apartment, still driving that old car, still working jobs that break your body. And I'm living in a high-rise in Philadelphia, shopping at stores where a dress costs more than your monthly rent, planning a wedding that cost more than you've earned in 5 years. I wanted you to have more than I did. I do have more, but I forgot where it came from. I forgot who paid for it." We sat there for a long time. Finally, she said, "I'm going to call off the engagement." "Emma, no, don't make a rash decision." "It's not rash, Dad. I've been thinking about this since the wedding. Since before, really. Tyler isn't the person I thought he was. Or maybe I'm not the person I thought I was. Either way, I can't marry someone who asks me to erase you. I can't build a life on that foundation. His family? His family doesn't matter. You matter. You're the only one who's ever really mattered." She left an hour later, said she needed to go back and have some hard conversations. I asked her to think carefully, not to blow up her life because of one mistake. She kissed my cheek and said, "You spent 24 years putting my life first. I think it's time I returned the favor." I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. Then she called and said it was done. The engagement was off. She'd moved out of the apartment she shared with Tyler. She'd put in a transfer request at work, back to the Pittsburgh office. She wanted to be closer to home. "Tyler's threatening to sue me over the ring," she said, sounding tired. "His mother is telling everyone I'm mentally unstable. It's a mess, Dad, but it's the right mess. I'm sorry it came to this. I'm not. I needed to see who they really were, who I was becoming. You gave me that." She moved back to Pittsburgh in January. Got a smaller apartment than she'd had, something she could afford on her own. She came over for dinner once a week, and we'd eat spaghetti and watch whatever game was on TV, just like when she was in high school. It took time, but slowly we found our way back to each other. Not the same as before, but something new, something more honest. One night, she asked me, "Do you regret it? Spending all that money? Working all those hours? Knowing I almost threw you away for people who didn't care?" I thought about it. No. I don't regret raising you. I regret that you felt like you had to choose. But that's on them, not you. I should have chosen you from the start. You were trying to build a life. There's nothing wrong with wanting more than what you grew up with. But I forgot where I came from, who I came from. You remembered when it mattered. She reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm not going to forget again." And she hasn't. It's been 6 months now. She's dating someone new, a teacher she met at a community event. Nice guy, from a working-class family like ours. She brought him over last week, and we grilled burgers and talked about baseball. He didn't check his phone once. I still work delivery jobs. My back still hurts. My car still rattles. But Emma calls me every day now. Not out of obligation, but because she wants to. She asks my advice on things. She tells me about her work. She invites me to her apartment for dinner and cooks the meals I taught her. Last month was my birthday. She showed up with a cake and a gift. Inside was a framed photo of the two of us from her college graduation, and under it she'd written, "To the best father I could have asked for." I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. I keep it on my nightstand now. Some mornings I look at it and remember standing in that country club parking lot, wondering if I was doing the right thing, wondering if giving her that envelope would push her away forever. But it didn't push her away. It reminded her who she was, who we were. And sometimes that's what love requires. Not letting go, but showing someone what they're about to lose. I'm not rich. I'm never going to be. My apartment is still small, my car still old, my clothes still worn. But I have my daughter back. The real one. Not the version of her that tried to fit into someone else's world. And that's worth more than all the money Tyler's family will ever have.